Top uranium miners on the ASX have had a significant rally this week, and if we look at them in the context of the last year, the performances are staggering, 120% up to 215% rises for the uranium miners. When we zero in and have a look at the performances this month, we do see that some of the small cap miners have been the best performers, and we pull that lens out to look at the best performers over the last month. Drilling in to have a look at the uranium commodity price itself, we can see on the chart here it doesn't trade as much, so we're using these moving averages being the green line and the red line to understand what's happening. The green line is a 50-day moving average. This blue one here is a 10-day moving average. We can see it's travelled sideways throughout June and July after a good rally throughout the May-June period. Pulling this lens back to have a look over a 5-year period, you can see it runs in fits and spurts. And we did have a good move throughout February 2020 and then another movement throughout the later part of 2020, which we did see some good strong news, and you can have a look at other videos when we do look at that period where a lot of uranium miners that we'll have a look at today really shot out with the Biden administration coming in with that strategic reserve in the US, kicking off that news flow that really helped get a lot of interest into this sector. What we're going to do is have a look at these leaders here over the yearly basis, but we're going to compare them to the best ones over the last week. If we have a look at Silex Systems, we can see it's flat for the month, but this does put it in 5th position over the last month for uranium miners. It is interesting to see that they are sitting on this 200-day moving average being the red line, and they have come back after that massive rally we saw late last year. We've had a lot of news come from the uranium sector with the Biden administration talking about the strategic reserves in this part of the rally. We've had other updates talking about ETFs coming to market. We're giving a spot access for retail investors. And then we have seen also speculation from hedge funds buying up in the spot market and lots of other movements with capital being deployed and picking up in the spot market cheaper than what it can be manufactured or pulled out of the ground, we should say, and refined. So Silex Systems has been moving sideways, and we do see not quite a volatility contraction pattern, but is churning out a bottom and is very interesting to see there. As we're seeing the 50-day come into the 200-day moving average, this green line touch the red line. Very interesting there. We're going to move through these quickly because their performance has not been that strong. Boss Energy, the company, up 3% over the last month. Now what we do see with Boss is that they have much lower capitalisation, but they do have massive leverage to that movement. So going from 6 cents up to 16, up to 20 cents throughout the last year has put a massive percentage gains. Boss has been a good trading share, and many of our listeners are trading that one and interested in that one. Oklo Resources, what we're looking at here is other companies that are exposed to this space. And what we're seeing is that their performance is 4%, while they're not specifically focusing in it. Some of their reserves are exposed to the uranium commodity itself. We've got Maximus Resources, similar sort of movement there, 6.9% gains for them over the last month. And then the top one is MEU, which is a company we have seen before. Marmota Limited MEU, do see again low share price, low capitalisation, massive leverage to small movements in that share price. This is where we pull the lens out to have a look at these top performers over the last year, because this is where the numbers become quite staggering, and this is where you can see why there's been so much interest in the uranium sector over the last 6 months or so. What we want to zero in is have a look at how these have performed on a yearly basis. We're picking up Silex and Boss to start these numbers off. Just look at these performances coming from worst to last or in the ranking positions. We're moving up the ranking. So Silex, we've got Boss Energy. You can see there's a similar pattern within these charts. We've got the November-December breaks on Paladin, bit of a sideways churn, then breaking out again. And then as we're seeing this sort of, not quite a volatility contraction pattern there, but we are moving into sort of a descending wedge and then breaking out above it with a good volume break here on Paladin and maintaining quite volatile throughout that period. Then we see Anson Resources, another favoured trading share in this January period, obviously getting a lot of volume, seeing this huge movement here, a lot of traders on this one, and looking to see a break over these swing highs or this overhead resistance that we're seeing around that 8 cent level. Similar movements in that pattern. Again, Bannerman Resources showing that interest coming in December, and then widening volatility that we have seen throughout May, much like Paladin. So moving up to EL8, so we've got Elevate Uranium, 74% gain over the last quarter. And then what we do see for the year, that's 135% gain that they have put on. And you can see that a lot of this happened throughout the May period. So it depends on when they're making news and announcements on their individual tenements and assets and updates on their projects. ADD, another one, 154%. Alligator Energy coming into another recent favourite of many of our listeners. AGE looking at that high tight flag that it was setting up for. This is becoming a much longer flag. We generally don't see this being the criteria for a flag to last sort of the 2 months, but it will be interesting to see how that falls. Whether that's a nice floor there or whether that maintains a bit of a spring, we're yet to see. Jindalee Resources, 199%, similar sort of thing, massive rally and then churning out a bit of a bottom here now under the 50-day moving average with this green line here that it's under. Interesting to see. And then Zeus Resources, being a recent favourite for many traders, has shot up. This is setting up high type flags. Getting long in the tooth, we would want to see a nice positive break above this downtrend line here with massive volume. That's a critical point for Zeus. If you do want more information on trading the high type flags, click on the link below or on screen. There's a card right now to have a look at the tutorial on trading high type flags. If you're looking for these longer patterns, so the volatility contraction patterns, the Mark Minervini and many successful traders do use, click on the link in the description below to see that tutorial on how to trade volatility contraction patterns. They're the top uranium miners on the ASX. It is interesting to see that their performances yesterday are shadowed by the movements in the last week and month. But what we're looking at here is the yearly movements, and that's where investors and traders are quite interested for how that volatility is going to come back and hopefully go for a second leg. This is Final Market Points, where we connect the leading market themes and the top performing companies for better trading. Like the video to support the channel, click subscribe for updates, and comment below to let us know which uranium miners you're trading.